For a long time, humans believed that consciousness is what sets us apart from the rest of the living world. But that belief no longer holds. Science now tells us that animals feel pain, they experience fear, and they perceive the world from a point of view. Consciousness is not uniquely human. It is not a rare gift possessed by one species. It is a phenomenon woven into the fabric of life itself. And yet, despite living every single moment of life in it, we do not truly understand what consciousness actually is. So what is this thing we call consciousness? And where does it come from? In the Bite Size today, we'll discuss exactly that. Watch the video till the end. If you are seeking clarity in the core concepts, fundamental principles, and basic beliefs of all religions, history and philosophy, you have come to the right place. Welcome to my channel, History, Religion and Philosophy Bite Size. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and share. At its most basic level, consciousness can be defined as subjective awareness of experience. It is the fact that experiences are felt rather than merely processed. This definition is deliberately narrow. Consciousness is not intelligence, reasoning, or problem solving. These are cognitive abilities. Consciousness is a condition that makes experience possible. A system can be highly intelligent without being conscious, and conscious experience can exist without sophisticated intelligence. Consciousness is also first person and subjective. It cannot be observed directly, only inferred. This makes it unlike almost anything else studied by science. Across cultures long before modern science, consciousness was treated as fundamental rather than incidental. In many Eastern traditions, awareness was seen as a basic feature of reality itself. Hindu philosophy spoke of individual consciousness as an expression of a deeper, universal awareness. Buddhism placed conscious experience at the center of suffering and liberation, developing systemic, introspective practice to study it directly. In Western antiquity, consciousness was typically understood through the idea of the soul. Plato saw the soul as immaterial and rational, while Aristotle viewed it as the organizing principle of a living body. Even without neuroscience, these thinkers recognized that life, perception, and thought involve different levels of capacity rather than a single mechanism. As ideas about consciousness developed, a persistent confusion emerged. The tendency to treat consciousness, soul, intelligence, and intellect as interchangeable. They are not. In religious traditions, consciousness is often understood as an expression of the soul, an immaterial, enduring essence responsible for awareness, free will, and moral agency. Conscious experience in this view flows from something deeper and non-physical. Philosophy gradually separated these ideas. Aristotle already distinguished perception from reason. Later thinkers recognized that pain, emotion, and sensation are conscious experiences even when no thinking or reasoning is involved. This leads to a crucial distinction. Consciousness is not intelligence. Intelligence refers to problem solving, planning and abstraction. Intellect involves reasoning and conceptual thought. Consciousness is the experiential field within which these processes occur. One can be conscious without being intelligent, and intelligent systems can, in principle, exist without being conscious. This distinction matters. It explains why animals can be conscious without human-like intellect and why artificial intelligence can display remarkable intellectual abilities without any evidence of inner experience. The modern era turned consciousness into a philosophical puzzle. René Descartes grounded certainty in conscious thought itself, sharply separating mind from body. Consciousness became private, internal, and fundamentally distinct from the physical world. But this created a new problem. How does something non-physical interact with the physical brain? Later, philosophers attempted to resolve this by redefining consciousness in psychological terms. John Locke tried personal identity to memory and continuity of experience. David Hume questioned whether there was any unified self at all, arguing that introspection reveals only a stream of perceptions. By this point, consciousness was no longer a spiritual given, but it was not yet scientifically understood either. The purpose of the bite-sized videos is to break down complex concepts into simple and easy to understand narrations. It requires a lot of effort and research. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and share so we can spread the message as much as possible. Modern neuroscience had made it increasingly clear that consciousness is deeply tied to the brain. Changes to brain chemistry, structure, or connectivity can profoundly alter conscious experience. Anesthetic drugs can reliably abolish consciousness and restore it again. Brain injuries can erase awareness, distort perception, or change personality in ways that are once unimaginable. By the way, if you are interested in the topic of how brain injuries can alter consciousness, follow my video on free will. Neuroscientists have identified networks that appear crucial for conscious awareness, particularly distributed circuits involving the cortex and thalamus. Conscious experience seems to require not just sensory input, but integration, the coordination of information across multiple brain regions. When this integration breaks down, as in deep sleep, coma, or general anesthesia, consciousness fades. Clinical conditions have further sharpened our understanding. Patients in vegetative or minimally conscious states challenge us to define the minimal neural conditions required for experience. Split brain studies reveal something even more unsettling. When communication between brain hemispheres is severed, consciousness itself may fragment, suggesting that unity of experience is something that brain actively constructs. Yet, despite these advances, neuroscience faces a fundamental limitation. Brain scans can show correlates of consciousness, patterns that reliably accompany experience, but they do not explain why those patients feel like anything from inside. One influential scientific idea is that consciousness is an emergent property of complex systems. Just as liquidity emerges from interaction between individual water molecules, even though no single molecule is wet, consciousness may emerge from the coordinated activity of billions of neurons. On this view, no single brain cell is conscious. Consciousness arises only when information processing reaches a certain level of complexity, integration, and feedback. This allows consciousness to be fully dependent on the brain without being reducible to any single component. Emergence offers an attractive middle ground. It avoids the need to invoke souls or non-physical substance, while also acknowledging that consciousness is not easily explained by simple physical processes. However, critics argue that emergence may describe when consciousness appears without explaining why it does so. The leap from neural activity to subjective experience remain unexplained. Contemporary science offers several influential theories. The global workspace theory proposed that consciousness arises when information becomes globally available across the brain. The integrated information theory links consciousness to the degree of information integration in a system. The predictive processing models describe the brain as a prediction-generating machine, with experience emerging from its attempts to minimize error between expectation and reality. These theories explain how cognition works. What they do not explain is why any of this should be accompanied by experience at all. This unresolved question is known as the hard problem of consciousness. Popularized by David Chalmers, it explains as to why does matter give rise to experience. The hard problem exposes a deep gap between our scientific descriptions of the world and our lived reality within it. Even a complete physical account of the brain seems compatible with the absence of consciousness. Some thinkers therefore argue that consciousness may be a fundamental feature of reality, while others believe the problem reflects limits in our current understanding. Consciousness is the most familiar aspect of our lives and the least understood. It is a source of meaning, suffering, empathy, and identity. We can map the brain in extraordinary detail, trace neural pathways, and model cognition with increasing precision, yet the existence of experience itself remains unexplained. What makes consciousness so extraordinary is that it is both the object of study and the condition for studying anything at all. Every scientific measurement, philosophical argument, and personal insight occurs within conscious awareness. We do not observe consciousness from the outside. We encounter the world through it. In this sense, consciousness is not just another phenomenon in the universe. It is the space in which the universe becomes known. Throughout history, humans have approached consciousness from different angles. As soul, as mind, as brain activity, as emergent complexity, each framework has revealed something important, yet none has been complete. Philosophy shows us the depth of the problem, neuroscience shows us its dependence on the brain, psychology shows us how fragile and malleable conscious experiences can be. And lived experience reminds us that consciousness is not abstract. It's a joy and grief, fear and love, boredom and wonder. There are aspects of consciousness we have barely touched. The way it shifts over a lifetime from infancy to old age. The way it can be altered through meditation, trauma, psychedelics or illness. The way culture, language and social relationships shape what we notice, value and feel. Consciousness is not static. It is a dynamic, layered and deeply influenced by both biology and environment. This is also the ethical dimension. As we come to recognize consciousness beyond our own species and potentially beyond biological life itself, we are forced to rethink moral responsibility. Who or what deserves moral consideration? What does it mean to cause suffering? These are not abstract questions. They shape how we treat animals, patients, and perhaps one day intelligent machines. And then there is a future. Advances in artificial intelligence raise profound questions about whether consciousness can arise in non-biological systems or whether it is inseparable from living brains. Neuroscience may one day allow us to modify, enhance, or even fragment conscious experience in ways that challenge our deepest intuitions about identity and selfhood. The question may no longer be only what consciousness is, but what we choose to do with it. Perhaps the most humbling realization is this. Despite all our progress, consciousness resists being fully captured by equations or scams. That resistance may point to a limitation in our tools or to something fundamental about reality itself. It reminds us that knowledge has boundaries and that mystery is not a failure of understanding, but often its beginning. So we end where we began, inside experience itself. Consciousness is not just something we study. It is a lens through which all understanding is possible. And in trying to understand it, we are not merely exploring the mind, we are exploring what it means to exist at all. I'd love to have your comments or questions. Please post them below. Thank you.